I've not used this before, so I'm just trying it out.
Hey man, it's been too long since we sat down and that just feels wrong. Allow me to give my head a shake, open my eyes and fix a mistake. Do you wanna come over? Just like the old times, we'll hit pause and then hit a rewind. You wanna come over? Just like the old days, and we'll watch the time just fly. Hey buddy, no strangers here. These times I hold them dear. My door's open, so come on in. This was great, let's do it again. Do you wanna come over? Just like the old times, we'll hit pause and then hit rewind. You wanna come over? Just like the old days, and we'll watch the time just fly. Do you wanna come over? Just like the old times, we'll hit pause and then hit rewind. You wanna come over? Just like the old days, and we'll watch the time just fly.
We're back. We skipped last week. My apologies for that. We were going to do a horror / supernatural themed episode. We may touch on some of those themes today, but that is all dependent on what our guest today wants to do. Now, we don't have guests on this show very often, but we do have them sometimes. We've had Cutthroat Comics as an official guest. Now, this guest that we've had that we have today, we have had on the show before, but not officially as a guest. Now, I'm talking about my best friend and yours, and everyone's best friend out there on the internet, the one who kicks the door in, but he puts it back up nicely, the man from Trinidad and Tobago, the artist, the writer, the singer, the dancer, our Trinidaddy, Hans Chow.
Trinidaddy.
How are you, Hans? Welcome to the show officially as a guest.
Oh my goodness. I was kind of shocked actually when I saw the artwork for the thing. I was like, oh no.
I wasn't kidding.
Oh,
I wasn't kidding.
it's true. You were not kidding.
It's Hans Chow night.
So
Tonight is your night, bro.
Now,
Hans, you're a health nut, and I mean that with all due respect. So today I've foregone my usual soda drink, and I'm drinking water today.
that's what
Just you're such a nice guy, because you'll message in the chat. You'll go, guys, make sure you're drinking water. I'm like, that is the most Hans Chow thing to say in a chat. It's like, looking after our health. Good on you, buddy. Cheers to Hans. Cheers.
I'm drinking water.
I thought you were. I thought you were.
things.
I thought you were.
So,
Speaking of water,
It's sparkling orange water.
okay,
the
that
thing
makes sense.
The thing that I mean, aside from us getting older and whatever, like I have to do a bunch of courses to help with like first aid and all that, and the number of health things that can be prevented just by drinking water. It's just like, just drink the water. Drink
the water.
Drink the water. It really helps so many things. Even the alcohol and stuff. You drink the water to clear out the kidney. You know what I mean? Just to prepare you for later activities.
I'm feeling bad about my drink now. Thanks.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, obviously, it's everything in moderation, including moderation, right? It's just one of those.
All right.
Well,
that's a good
in a
quote.
constellation, it's full of ice, like to the top, and there's some like
That's good.
bubbly water in there. So it's mostly water.
In that leads me to this thing in England, and you guys are not English, but anyway, apparently when you ask for like a Coke, they give you a Coke in a cup, but with no ice. You have to ask for ice.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's just water. They give you bubbly water, sparkling water.
Is that why would they do? Is it so cold up there that the things come.
They pour
chilled.
their beer warm too, don't they?
Isn't that a
Nothing's
little?
chilled.
Well, I like chilled beer. I like chilled soda if I drink soda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
I like
that I
chilled
drink is
dudes.
usually
That's why we
chilled.
hang out. But we'll have to ask Space Commander whether or not that's a or TJC even. Let's have a quick say hi to the chat real quick. That was a real sentence. Let's check out the chat and see who's here with us. Johnny is off to work, but he'll catch the slow motion replay. Yeah, if you're going to watch Hans Chow, you want to get the most out of it. So put it on the slow-mo speed.
Savor every moment of it.
Every Hans Chow chat, you got to savor it. If you want us to call in sick for you, Johnny, that is a service that we provide. Speaking of guests, our first guest, Cutthroat Comics. I am here. Wondering why Hans' drawings was bigger on the thumbnail. Well, because he's our special guest. Greetings all, and griefings as well. Thanks, buddy. Greetings and griefings to you. Diorama time from WJ? I'm not sure. Who's got a diorama they want to show? I could put one together real quick. Zombie Hunter 115. Hey guys. Special WJ saying, Mr. Chow, that's what I call you too. I want you to know it was an honor working with you on Demons. Not directly, of course, but they used both of our footage, which is great. And Hans, you did an amazing job.
Yeah, you did.
Everyone did an amazing job too, but as your guest will specify, yours was amazing. The atmosphere, the voice, everything was perfect. Loved it.
Thank you.
Pericles is here. How are you, buddy? Curtis Mayfield's Superfly begins playing, comes crashing in through the window just as the horn section comes in. Our buddy crashes through doors, kicks that door in. I think that was probably one of the first messages. I believe it was in Joburg. I think that's where we first crossed paths. Probably same with you, Gaz. And I'm pretty sure it was in the chat. It was like kicking the door in, and that's been your style ever since, and we love it.
I just want to know.
Woodman.
I want to know what theme song is playing when you crash through the door. When you kick in the
Nothing.
door.
I need to concentrate.
Hans Chow.
I'm busy checking files.
Woodman, sir.
How are you, Woodman? Thanks for coming in. WJ's drinking Gatorade. That's all right. Ronnie is here. I'm here. Hey, boys. How are you, buddy?
I used to call it Gatorade.
Isn't it?
Gatorade.
I get it.
Gatorade.
Gatorade.
Or if you, it was an honor working with you too, WJ, as well. I love that stuff. I'm actually working on 2 more right now. One for Zazel, but don't tell him I'm working on it for him, and another
Zazel
one.
Don't know.
Myself, yeah.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. You'll get it by Christmas, or maybe before. But
he's working on one for you.
You're gonna ruin it.
Don't ruin the surprise. Tell me more. Look, I'm at the age now where if you told me anyway, I'd forget.
Oh, I hate that. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly.
I legitimately in the group chat yesterday, Phil mentioned that he was on an episode of Oh Ring a Bell, and I'm like, you were? Which one? When did that happen? And it was the Cobra Convergence one. I was like, I forgot I even did one for Cobra Convergence.
If it's any consolation, I forgot what I did yesterday.
Yeah, well,
oh, no,
that's
wait,
because
no,
you
I
spilled
remember
beer in
now.
your lap.
I was playing Ghost Recon with my buddy Hans.
Oh, you know what? I want to get back onto Ghost Recon with you guys, but it's the time frame that's no good for me.
I'll call
maybe one of
to play with you.
Yeah, thanks. Same. Let's all call in sick. Maybe one of these shoot the shits will be us just playing video games.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, for sure. I don't
Shoot
mind.
this
Now,
shit,
Hans,
the Ghost Recon stream.
Ghost Recon stream. Hans, you have a very specific mission when you play Ghost Recon. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I do.
Gazz
I
knows.
definitely
Yeah.
do.
You want to share with the people at home?
So there's a unique enemy that I see in the game that other people don't really consider to be enemies. They're of the 4-legged variety, and more often than not, they tend to break the immersion, so they have to be removed from the combat zone in order to ensure the mission goes smooth, you know? Sometimes they walk the plank.
You can't be laying there in your sniper position, getting ready to shoot, and having a goat next to you going, man.
Get out of here!
We could be on a straight line trajectory to our official mission, and he'll see something over here with 4 legs and go, "Oh no, this way, boys."
Sidetrack.
Write them down.
I remember one time we were ready to assault getting ready to assault a base, and I was like, hold on a second. I go, this one's for you, Hans. And I laser sighted I think it was a rabbit.
There's some
Dropped a missile on it.
I stopped getting invited after I dropped the helicopter on everyone.
No. That was great.
WJ wanted Slaughter versus Nemesis Enforcer 2 or 3. It would be technically the third one in my universe, being that he was in the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship. Now, I wanted to put something together too, but everything stopped working, which is why the official episode of not Blanca, it was Balrog versus Big Boa. That one was pushed to the wayside too because of technical issues. But I'll get on the next one because it's always fun jumping in. And I did have plans.
Did you get the classified? Are you going to get the classified Nemesis Enforcer?
I want to, yeah. Like, I feel like that would be like a good, because I like the one of my best friends, believe it or not, has gotten me the Slaughter's Marauders version of Sergeant Slaughter.
Who's that?
So you know, just one half of Gazz and Xaz, which I appreciate. My buddy right here. High five.
Oh,
Slap it. Pachow. Nailed it. Geek Strong is here. I'm Geek Week. And Sudi Huda. Who are these guys? Stick around and find out. Good to see you. So, what were we saying? We're talking about the Nemesis Enforcer?
yeah. So were you going to get it? Because I was going to say, if you get that, then you could do a nice classified.
Ooh, yeah.
Episode.
I mean, it's already hard enough to move O-ring figures around. Classifieds are big, beefy boys. But I feel like that it would be a good companion on the shelf with the first classified Sarge, which I think is great. So, vintage or 2010's convention? Which one? Oh, the Sarge? No, vintage over 2010 Sarge. The 2010 Sarge was pretty good.
Sarge is SDCC?
Yeah. They brought out 2. They brought out the USA Sarge, and yeah, look at that guy. Our boy in blue.
I have to get one of those as well. Ugh. But I have a very specific thing that I'm investing in right now that's stopping any other investments in anything else classified.
Oh, yes? And what may that be?
It's blue and it flies and it comes with a sensual Baroness pilot.
Oh, yes. Nice. Oh, yeah. The sensuous Baroness. I love that Hans can find beauty in just about anything. Like, he'll send us a pencil drawing and he'll say, look at this majestic, beautiful woman. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then he'll send me a picture of an action figure. Look at this majestic, beautiful woman. Like, yeah, all right. Rattler. Oh, yeah.
When I watched that, didn't I send you a picture of that Baroness?
You did send me a picture of it.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This is getting it. $350 for just that Baroness.
I didn't want to get the Rattler at all. But because I thought it was just going to be like, they're going to take the old Rattler and scale it up, and you're still going to get the same kind of dinky proportions. But when I saw that they actually improved the proportions and all that sort of thing, I was like, all right, fine. Let me see who will help me out. And Gazz so kindly volunteered, and
on your buddy.
And
what a
I'm
legend.
really happy about that. So, question for me: what drawings are you working on lately? Just wondering because you're such a good artist. Okay, so I'm still working on my book because I want that to come out in February next year. But aside from that, I was working on Gazz's birthday gift, which was a female Viper, which he's already seen. That's already up on my Instagram as well. The other thing I'm working on is actually for Matt Comstock, because his birthday is coming up in a few days as well. So
Nice.
he's been really good to me and a really good guy. So I'm working on something for him as well. No spoilers on that, but it will be a woman, because I like drawing ladies. They do things heart and mind. You know what's funny? You know what's actually funny is like people are like, a lot of people look at women and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, let me help you and hold you." And all I can think of myself, people are always looking for reasons how God exists, and I just look at women and I know, like, that's how I know God exists. Look at that. It's so perfect. Look at how it moves, you know, and that
Right.
it gives me faith in the Lord, you know. That's like that song, you know. Pour
What
some
song?
sugar on me, which has nothing to do with God.
I don't know. I think that's a gift from heaven. It's such a great song. It's not an appropriate song to sing at karaoke at Joe Fest if you're under the age of 10, but that happened.
You're
still
going
can't
to
believe
Joe
that
Fest
happened.
next year, though, aren't you?
Well, I'm going to RonCon next year, and that may spill out into Joe Fest. You're back again, aren't you, Hans?
I wasn't supposed to go, but the finances are lining up very well.
Now, have you got your ticket yet?
I do not have my ticket yet, but I do have my room, and that's the important part. That's
That
the
is
hard,
actually
that's the hardest
half
stuff.
the battle.
That
Are you
is-
staying at the Marriott?
I'm staying in the Marriott. I'm not doing what happened this year. It was terrible. I shouldn't say it's terrible. It wasn't cool. I ended up, and I feel a little bad actually. I ended up staying in a Ramada because it was cheaper and it was pretty close. But when I went in, the Ramada was not clean. It was kind of filthy.
right.
There was I went into the room and there was white sticky stuff on the floor, and all the furniture looked like eaten by termites and stuff like that. And actually, Adam actually was messaging me, and he was like, "Dude, are you here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, and I'm here, but the room sucks." And he's like, "Whatever, come to the convention." And I messaged back, like, I didn't just fly 24 hours to live with poverty. And that's really like snooty, but for real though, I felt nasty lying in the bed. It was just like, no. So I got a refund, and Matt was like Batman, swooped in and saved me from that freaking crime scene. And he's trying to see if he can sell it back to you at Joe Fest. Really? Dude, I would be happy to buy it back from you. I would love that.
Is that who you sold your trouble bubble to?
Yes, it was.
What
because
a guy!
I put it in my suitcase, and the original guy wouldn't buy it back from me. So I was like, all right, no problem. Let me. At this point, I just look in his shelf stuff, and he was so nice enough to give me $40 for it. So I was like, yeah, perfect, no problem.
He was just talking about that yesterday. He felt really bad that he had to sell it because he wanted one really bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, if you want to keep it, that's fine too. You know, it's just a story we can share. Anyway,
Either way, that is a great offer. That is a great offer.
Yeah. Matt swooped in, took me to a Hyatt down the road, which was clean, thank Christ. And the rest of the story was just a fantastic weekend around good people. And if you're going, I mean, I would love, I'd love to see you.
Now, Hans, here's the thing. I'll just answer this real quick. If you saw the last episode of the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship, you know that there are going to be Transformers in the mix. So, yes, I definitely will. Hans, now, there apparently won't be... I was looking at tickets. Apparently, there won't be an O-Ring exclusive option next year, which is fine. However, what I want to extend to you, good sir, is I would like to get the ticket for you for Joe Fest next year. So leave it with me. I'll organise the tickets. Now that you've got your room, that's not to say that you owe me anything. You do not. It's my gift to you. If I happen to need to use a bathroom, though, and yours is the closest, keep that in mind. Not to say that you would owe me anything, but
if we get a little wasted and we don't think we should venture out into the streets of that town, maybe we just crash in your room.
Yeah, maybe if we. That is not a requirement, but leave it with me. I've got it. I've extended the offer to Gaz and Adam as well. I'm in a much better position this year than I was the first time. I thought Joe Fest was only ever going to be a one and done deal, and it was back then. It was almost impossible to get there the first time, but thanks to some awesome people who went in on the GoFundMe, I was able to get there the first time. And much respect for everyone that did that. And I've got a lot of hands to shake when I go back to Joe Fest on those people that helped me the first time. But I'm able to get there again, much like you, Hans, where finances have aligned, and I'm able to go. So we're going to do it. I'm just gonna no Slim Jims.
Yeah, no Slim Jims this time around.
You got a request.
That's what you want. I can do that. I love an Asajj Ventress.
Oh yeah,
dude.
I'm
always
unfortunately, unfortunately, Gazz.
What did that say?
Unfortunately, Gazz knows all too well. Let's not make it about me. This is the Hans show.
We can make that episode of this shit.
So we're.
I'm kidding.
With all of this tasteful conversation, I'm scared to bring up what I wanted to bring up. But
just bring it up, man. This is your show.
Bring it. Let's do
it. As our official third member of Shoot the Shit, you can pick topics, buddy.
How long are we going here? How
long do you need
to, buddy?
Oh God, no. Okay.
Shit's about to get real.
Guys, we're going 24 hours.
I don't know if it's about to get real, but I was debating this with a bunch of very intelligent people. So I have some fairly good points, and they're not necessarily G.I. Joe related, unfortunately or unfortunately, but I guess they are kind of pop culture related.
Right.
Let me see. Can I share slides?
You sure can.
I can share that from my computer.
Yeah, you just hit the present button down below.
Oh my! This suddenly got
complicated.
Oh my.
Welcome to our world. It's complicated.
Yeah. That's why we.
That's why we look. Here's my slideshow. Hey, there we go.
You know what? What did I call this folder? No.
You have to open up. You have to open it up in another window.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I got it.
And then when you present, you choose that window to present.
Right. Okay. So
yeah.
Present. Share screen.
Yeah.
Share screen. Select a tab to share.
Oh, we're going back to Waffle House.
We are going back. We're gonna devastate.
Oh
that.
yeah.
So y'all are seeing this, right?
I'm not seeing it. Oh,
here it is.
Okay, I can't see what y'all are seeing.
What is this?
Okay, great. So, how do we start? A couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, I stumbled upon a song called "Poison." Not of course, of the traditional Poison. Yeah, but for a song from this show called "Poison," and I looked at it was a remix, so I looked up the original song. I watched it and I said, "Wow, this is really well animated." And I read and said, "Oh, well, the show was great, etc." So I went in and I started to watch the show, and I sort of realized this show is 500% not for me.
Right.
But I kept watching it, and I watched it all the way through, and I sort of realized in my watching that sometimes some of the things that we watch don't fit our tastes, because as the saying goes, there's no accounting for taste. But I must still admit that it does fit into the realm of fine art, simply because the setting, the songs, and all this sort of thing, despite not being for me, very much matched art. And that sort of led me on a train of thought. It was like, at what point are we really and truly allowing our tastes to control who and what we watch? And at what point must we abandon our own personal tastes and sort of think of these things as simply masterpieces, even though we don't enjoy them? And that sounds really confusing, and I understand that. But let me elaborate further. So the next thing I brought up was this: Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. Yes. You can go into any group.
How are you, Joe fan?
cinemaphiles or cinephiles, whatever they call them, and say Citizen Kane, and they will go on a long tirade of how it's one of the best movies ever, and etc. etc. Even for me, when I was in university, they forced us to watch it. Note the word I used was forced to watch Citizen Kane. And I do recognize that for its time, certainly the movie was fantastic, but I will probably never watch the movie again simply because it's
Right.
not the things I particularly enjoyed. Now, what I wanted to bring up with you guys is at what point do we start to put aside our own tastes and objectively argue whether something is a masterpiece or not? So I put together some movies for us to kind of look at and discuss, as well as
Okay,
some
brilliant.
art,
Okay.
right? So
Love it.
the first one I have here is, of course, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. Have either of you seen the movie?
How are you, Michael?
Almost as good as Megaphone.
Damn right, Mike. That's right.
So,
Um,
I'll just for 1 second, Hans, just for context, I will read out the synopsis of Has Been Hotel so people understand what it is and why we're talking about it. It's so according to Google, and I've seen the show, but according to Google, in an attempt to find a non-violent alternative for reducing hell's overpopulation, the daughter of Lucifer opens a rehabilitation hotel that offers a group of misfit demons a chance at redemption, which is a great description for a show. But
sounds
just
good.
like Hans Chow, I realized, this show
This
is
not
not
for
for
me.
me.
Great
premise, though. Great premise.
I have never heard of it. I actually looked it up while you had it up on screen, and read that very same synopsis, and I'm like, oh, that might be worth a shot, but I don't know. I'd have
I
to watch it to
guarantee
figure out.
you, about 20 minutes into the first episode, you're going to be like, no.
This is
It
not
wouldn't be
my.
the first.
This
It
is not
wouldn't be
my
the
show.
first time. It wouldn't be the first time.
But I will say that because the show is set in hell, all the deviance makes sense. It's kind of like this other
Right.
movie. Do you remember this movie with? It's like a really early movie with who's Achilles from Troy again? He's such a good looking Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Cool
Yeah,
World.
yeah.
Cool World.
I've
Yes,
seen that.
Cool
That's a
World. Yep.
decent
Right.
movie.
Cool World. The world in Cool World was very like those.
Deviant.
All those animated characters were deviants, but at the same time,
Mm.
because it was a cartoon, it kind of sold itself as you understood. This is kind of like somebody's vision of hell. Anyway, let's carry on with what we've got.
Yeah.
Have any of you
Okay.
seen Citizen Kane?
I saw it in high school.
Saw it in high school.
I don't recall if I've seen it. I know bits of it.
Okay.
I don't recall watching it.
Right.
That means
Have
I've
you-
probably seen it once and forgot about it.
Have you heard of Citizen Kane at least?
Parts. I don't.
You've
It doesn't
all-
come
you-
up in. It doesn't come up in conversation amongst the people I usually talk to. So
Okay. So, for all intents and purposes, you know of Citizen Kane, but you don't know that it is a cinematic masterpiece.
they say. Yeah.
Okay, so they say it is a cinematic masterpiece. All right, and Zazel, anything to add to that?
We were talking about Has Been Hotel, and we'll continue down that road in a moment. Citizen Kane. Now, the way Citizen Kane was sold to us, because we watched it in high school in class, and we watched other movies like Lord of the Flies. We watched The Three Musketeers, and we watched Citizen Kane as one of the movies. And it was sold to us as this is one of the best movies ever made. It should be on your bucket list of movies. It would be probably in the top 10 movies must see, one of the best movies ever made. And so I went in there with high expectations. And maybe that was one of the problems, right? Is that I went in there with high expectations. And I'm a movie guy, right? I love cinema. I love film. I love all of this jazz. So I went into this thinking, great, this is gonna blow my mind. Did it? No, it didn't. Is it in my top 10 list of movies? No.
Right. So actually, Michael Mercy in the chat is bringing up something vital there, right? So Orson Welles did a lot of amazing camera work for its time. Literally, it says there, groundbreaking. He dug a hole. It was literally groundbreaking stuff. There's some fantastic shots in there. I mean, even Stanley Kubrick himself drew a lot of inspirations from these things. You can see where these guys come from. So it kind of set this kind of groundwork. So because of the level of, because of the pioneer title that Citizen Kane holds. It's kind of held up as this masterpiece. Now, let's look at the next movie.
I love this movie. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Well, it's a movie. Yeah.
Okay, so we're contrasting Citizen Kane with Ace Ventura. Now,
Right.
I have a mathematician friend. He's a master's in mathematics. He's a hyper intelligent fella, and he's one of those guys that says you have to put things at far extremes. And when you look at two far extremes, if they both work, let's use another matter. If you put two things on the far ends, both of them work, then you may have a case for a potential argument, like an intelligent argument, right? So Ace Ventura, I can assume from the laughter that everyone here has seen it.
Yeah,
I have seen it.
Okay. So Ace Ventura, I watched with my sister a long time ago. And I had to watch the movie 3 times because I went and had a conniption laughing the first time that I watched it, right?
Right.
So tell me about your experiences with the movie.
It's probably the same experience. I laughed so hard I had to see it again.
I didn't see it in the cinema, but I watched it at a sleepover, and I thought that it was hilarious. To be fair, I haven't seen it again since maybe my 20s, but I did enjoy Ace Ventura.
Okay. So we can all agree as people who have seen Ace Ventura that it is certainly a funny movie. But in the realm of the best movies ever and concepts of it being labeled as a masterpiece, would you label it as a masterpiece?
Not for me.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'd say it's groundbreaking as a comedic comedy with what he does, but that's just a focal of his acts. That when he was on Living Color, he did the same exact stuff. So it's just putting on a big screen, right? So I'm not gonna call it a masterpiece. It's a good comedy. It's a funny movie.
It's a good quotable movie, like a lot of Jim Carrey movies are very quotable.
I wouldn't say it's but I think masterpiece really falls into the eye of the beholder. It's not just like somebody can.
I'll let you know when I see a masterpiece.
A film critic can say that was a masterpiece, yeah, to them. But I mean, everybody's their own judge of what they like, right? So I mean.
Who's putting Ace Ventura as a masterpiece film?
So the point that I'm arguing, and I would like to continue evolving this as we keep moving forward, is that the label of masterpiece itself is not subjective, which is what Gazz is suggesting. It falls to taste. The idea is that ultimately both Citizen Kane as well as Ace Ventura can objectively be proven to any audience that they are masterpieces, which is the same problem I had with Hazbin Hotel. Hazbin Hotel was not for me, but the execution, the artistry, the voice acting, the songs and music all hit objectively the points that made it have to hit that masterpiece kind of level. Now, don't get me wrong. It might not be 100% masterpiece. It may be like grading an essay, right? It might be a 70% masterpiece as opposed to Citizen Kane, which might be like an 85 or a 95%, or an Ace Ventura, which might be, say, even a 60% or 75% masterpiece. Which leads me to the first question I brought up. At what point does taste have to take a back seat to the wisdom of actual interpretation? And we must admit, whether we like something or not, that it is in fact a masterpiece.
Well, I mean, like, it's all in like. All right, so we're talking about entertainment, right?
For now, this is going to get different, but yeah.
Well, right here with movies and TV shows, it's entertainment. So it not necessarily. Things don't necessarily have to be a masterpiece. We shouldn't have to look at them as being a masterpiece, because we won't know a masterpiece when we see it. We'll realize that it was down the road when it really hit you, right? When it really hit you.
I actually think the opposite.
Really?
I think that humans know when they're actually being fed something visually, audibly, or even taste-wise.
I
They're
don't know
being fed
about
something
that.
fantastic.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so when you
mean, here-
hear, when
I'm
you
gonna say-
heard,
How are you, Spoon Killer? Good to see you.
Good.
I was gonna say, back in the '60s, when Marvel Comics was starting, or even I'm gonna go even further back. The late '30s, when Superman came out in Action Comics, right? Nobody knew that was gonna be a masterpiece. Nobody's gonna think that that's gonna be like, that's gonna be groundbreaking in comics until like 50, 60 years down the road. Nobody realized it, right?
I think actually the fact that it sold so well and the kids gravitated to it, because children are fantastic gauge of quality. And I think they knew they had something. And the number of people that copied Superman during that time
clearly
kind of spelt something. People smelt quality in that thing.
I mean, the Superman was just a culmination of a lot of the pulp characters at the time. So even that wasn't a copy of something else. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, you don't realize how good it is until I don't want to say this because it sounds stupid, but until it becomes kind of vintage, right?
Well, is it? It does nothing. You see, that's the problem with nothing. No one's opinion is stupid until it's proven objectively stupid. So Michael Mercy just brought something else up in the comments there about Fury Road, for example. And Michael actually has like film experience. He said, it's all in the eye of the beholder. I'd call Fury Road a masterpiece just from a technical and visual standpoint. But some people might disagree and call it a run-of-the-mill action movie. But there is an objective truth in it actually being a masterpiece because of the excellence of its camera work. And even though, so Michael has background in film, but I don't. I didn't need that to recognize when I saw Fury Road, it was something fantastic. I may not have recognized it as a masterpiece, but I knew I was optically consuming something of high quality.
See, that's exactly how I felt when I first saw Megaforce.
Right.
I thought so. I'll say this though, Hans, and I think you may have touched on this earlier, is that masterpieces of film are sometimes discovered later because mass audiences didn't originally see it, so it went under the radar, and it becomes one of those sleeper hits where later on it gets rediscovered.
One I'll bring up is the Monster Squad.
Oh,
right?
I love that film. Yes.
Like when it came out, it was terrible. It got bad ratings. I think Siskel and Ebert gave it thumbs down, complete thumbs down. You talk to people today about it, and it's like some of the best cinema ever made, some of the best cinema ever written.
So this is another thing that was brought. I was talking to some real scholars these last few weeks, and they say, and I kind of agree with them, at a certain point, society doesn't gauge. Society cannot gauge whether something is successful or not. As I said, objectively, when you look at something, you know, when you eat good food, you don't need a master chef to tell you that you're eating that good food. And the same can be said for watching. Anyway, let me move on to the next movie.
Okay.
That I have here. Inception.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. Zazel, have you seen it?
I have seen it. Seen it. I would put this in the category of it is a masterpiece of filmmaking. Definitely groundbreaking for its time, for its style. It definitely puts you in a much like some of Quentin Tarantino's movies, where it puts you in a state of thinking. Trying to think ahead or try to catch up with the movie. It's a real thinker of a film, and it keeps you thinking after the film. People still say the term Inception now as just a phrase using the word Inception, or something as Inception, like Joe within Joe would be Joeception. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up. No, well, see, that's another thing as well. It's like the movies that are masterpieces then, do they hold up now? And has that got to do with technology, or has that
Well-
got to do with the tastes
well,
of the audience?
Here's how I think that you can tell a masterpiece from everything else is that when you first see it, it blows you away.
Right.
When you see it again, it blows you away. When you watch it further on down the road, it still blows you away because it's that good. And that's I
Yep.
judge movies. I judge movies, and everybody has their own way of judging movies, right? And the way I do it is if I like a love movie, I love them. Like I'll just bring it up again, Megaforce. Right? I know it's not the greatest movie ever made. To me,
I disagree. I think it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's got some cheese in it, whatever. But I think in a whole, the movie doesn't pretend to be anything more than it is. It's for me, it's got a good storyline, and when watching it, even Zazel says, "Hey," he's like, "Whoa, plot twist! I didn't expect that," and it's got a little great plot twist to it. It's got some fun. It's a good movie, and to me, that's a masterpiece. It's a good movie, but that's just to me.
So, two things. Number one, the ability to constantly and consistently unwrap something that you love and find a new angle to love it from is the deepest love that you can actually have. There's a divine love where, it's once said that no matter how many times you look at God, for example, there's always a fresh angle, and that's why he's fascinating to the artist. And one can say the same thing about your wife, for example, and your children. There'll always be different angles, and the same can be said about your entertainment, the things that you love. You look at this thing, and no matter how many times you see it, you always see a fresh new angle. Everything is interesting always. And I want to just point out the reactions in the chat. I popped Inception up, and I got Cutthroat saying he loved that movie. And Joe Fan said the movie was too hard for me to watch. Then Geek Strong said Inception is visual masterpiece. And then Spoonkiller said Inception doesn't hold up on rewatches. There were 4 different opinions, and each of the comments was less than 15 seconds apart. Everyone had something to say about the movie. They were all affected in one way or another by the movie. But in one way or another, each one of those 4 individuals, perhaps on an objective level, understand that even though the movie didn't speak to them, or perhaps it spoke to them, each one was a different way, and it may or may not have been a masterpiece to them per se, but their own tastes would have to be foregone for the fact they'd have to admit that on some level it was at least 70% fantastic. You know what I mean?
I think life experience also will change how you absorb something as a form of entertainment. Like music hits different depending on your mood, right? And I know I'm going to quote this wrong, but everyone's heard it anyway. So if I quote it wrong, you know what I'm talking about. It's that when you're happy, you enjoy the beat of the music, but when you're sad, you really absorb the lyrics of the music.
Yes.
Right, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I understand what you mean completely.
you know what I mean.
So the concept that we're really looking at here is that even though something may not have been for us, because I'm with Joe Fan, 100%. Inception was one of those movies where it's like, I get it, but I never want to see this ever again.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it more than once, actually, now that you mention it.
I understand that it was certainly a fantastic movie. And then
So I have a lot of people. I had a lot of people tell me I should watch the movie when they find out I haven't seen it. They say you'll like it, but the odd thing is that it never shows up in any of my suggestions to watch.
Right.
It doesn't follow my all right. I don't.
Your
judge,
algorithm.
It's not my algorithm.
Your algorithm.
It's not that I go by my algorithm on whatever app I'm using to watch movies or anything like that. I have my own choice of movies. I just, for some reason, I mean, visually it looks cool, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be into it, and I really don't like Leonardo DiCaprio. Sorry.
Again, and that can also influence whether or not you enjoy something. Is it how you personally feel about an individual? So if you don't like Clint Eastwood, you're not going to like a Clint Eastwood movie just because you don't like Clint Eastwood. It may be a great movie, but you'll be like, I don't like Clint Eastwood. And that puts that in your brain first.
Right, exactly.
But even if you don't like Clint Eastwood, can you still admit that he is a good actor? He's just not your favorite.
Well, yeah, like I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio, but I've seen a few of his movies, like What's Eating Gilbert Grape,
Right.
was the one that he did here with Jack Nicholson in Boston.
Departed.
Departed,
Yeah.
Departed. I dug those movies, and there's a few others that I've seen with him in it that I liked. It's not that I don't like him. I just didn't. It didn't speak to me. I guess I don't know.
So then, therefore, if you can watch Departed, say, and overcome your dislike for Leonardo DiCaprio as an actor, does that movie then move into an area where you can admit that it's still a masterpiece, even though it's not for me?
Oh, definitely. I think Departed is. I don't know if I'd go as far as say it's a masterpiece, but it's up there, even with him in it.
So this is leading us into where I really want to go. The concept where self is suppressed and we understand that what we're consuming is actually something fantastic. And it might actually be beyond our ability to appreciate. But on a very fundamental level, we know we're looking at something that is quality.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next movie.
That is a good movie. And it's one of those ones where the animation, if you watch Toy Story in a row, like all of the Toy Stories in a row, the animation, the original Toy Story, kind of doesn't hold up. Still a great story. Some of it's a bit like you look at it now and you're like, oh, that is scary.
This is what I meant by what I said earlier. It was like, yeah, even though it doesn't hold up, but when you're watching it, it doesn't matter. I can name a movie's animations and CGI sequences really don't hold up today, and that's this movie right here, right? The Last Starfighter.
Oh yeah,
but I could watch that movie over and over again, and I don't see the cheesy computer graphics that are in there. I see a Gunstar flying and fighting these cool fighters. That's what I see in my mind. It's like when I was a little kid, watching Godzilla movies. I wasn't seeing guys in rubber suits fighting. I was seeing 2014 Godzilla in my mind. That's what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Or minus one. That's what I was seeing in my mind as a kid. Right? And even now when I watch it, that's still what I see. It doesn't matter. But anyways.
No. But that's what I'm trying to tap into.
Yeah.
You knew you were watching something that was beyond your ability to understand and comprehend, and objectively you started to form opinions based that someone who's actually educated in filmmaking spent 4 years trying to study. It's transcending. It's so good. It's transcending that level of your body, your mind, your artistic spirit is recognizing it as a masterpiece, even though you don't have the training to do so. Fundamentally, I think on the inside, we know when we're looking at something that is beyond these things, right? We know that it is beyond. So
it does hold up. I just recently watched it and I love it.
Toy Story.
Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan. Yeah, no, Wrath of Khan holds up absolutely.
Oh, damn right it does.
So we only have a few more movies left, so I'm just gonna try to bust through them quick. Right?
Go right ahead.
Great movie, but I wouldn't say it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's masterpiece.
No, it isn't, but it's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
All three of us probably feel the exact same way about Commando. It's a fun watch, but in no way, shape, or form does this echo with us as a masterpiece. We were having fun while we were watching it, but none of it really transcended with us. And that, you see, now we're starting to kind of find some degree of objectivity, because even though we're not filmmakers, we know this was a great movie, but this was no masterpiece. Next movie.
Yep.
I will go out and let and say this is a cinematic masterpiece.
I would go as far as to say it's a master class in comedy.
I agree with with both of you. I absolutely agree with you guys.
I gotta say, everywhere I look, just reminds me of her. Leslie Nielsen.
We're gonna have a fella. We're gonna have a fella join us.
I absolutely feel like this is a masterpiece movie.
Hmm.
But when you watched it, you knew you were looking at something special.
Oh yeah.
Leslie Nielsen
yeah.
brought something. The script brought something. The story brought something. So much so that you felt almost this euphoria, this nirvana that you were, it.
Well, I
brought
mean,
you up.
just in the opening scene with the rooftop and the siren just driving through the streets of LA. Hey,
Hey,
How are you, buddy?
what's up, Mike?
Good to see
Hey
you.
guys.
we're bringing
Good
a
to see you,
real
buddy.
film aficionado in.
Oh, here we go.
It's a running.
We finally have someone of actual film quality class here to tell us where we're wrong.
Welcome to Shoot This Shit, sir.
Yeah, welcome
I've
to the
been-
clubhouse.
I don't think I have anything to add. You guys have been nailing it. Exactly. Totally.
Don't worry, there's
Bye.
more to do.
Thanks for that thrilling insight, Mike.
I'm just going to add the video to my community wall here.
Zazel, you should
Oh,
move him
thanks,
up
buddy.
one. You should move him up one.
Yeah, we'll put us schmoes down the bottom. What about this though? What about ones that I'm going to talk about the found footage genre, right? Whether you love it or you hate it, that first one,
Blair Witch.
the one Blair Witch, right?
Yeah.
I went to the cinema to see that when it was still being spouted out as being real found footage.
Yeah.
Right, so I went in there into the cinema, came out of that cinema thinking, "Oh my god, that is terrifying."
See,
If you watch it again, knowing that it's not real, it sort of takes some of the edge and horror out of it. But I think that it was probably the first of its kind that did it successfully, and nothing after it has gained that phenomenon of the found footage style, except for maybe what was the one where the creature came down to Earth, and that was found footage. That was pretty-
Cause that's with C.
Yeah, Coppers. No, what is it? Someone will tell us in the chat.
I have
Overfield.
Cloverfield. Yeah,
Cloverfield. That's it.
I have a similar experience with that movie, Blair Witch Project.
Right.
Me and a group of friends, we were really hyped on watching it. We saw the preview for it. We wanted to see this, and we were really, this is real, right? But me and one of my friends found out and actually saw an interview with the actress in the movie. So we were like,
Yeah.
hey, we just ruined the movie for us, right? But we weren't going to
Yeah,
tell our
yeah.
friends that we knew about it. So we were in the theater. We were like kind of giggling amongst each other, thinking that everybody here thinks it's real, but we know the truth. But when we watched it, we were zonked into the movie and completely forgot about everything. When they jumped, we jumped. That last scene, we jumped. We scared righteous in that movie. So yeah, I think that right there, I don't want to say if it's a masterpiece, but damn well filmed and groundbreaking stuff in that film.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's a masterpiece of cinema, but it kicked off a genre and was probably the best at it. Like you look at the Saw films, right? They're pretty. I don't know if they're masterpiece movies either, the Saw movies, but that first one, which is just a gore fest, right?
Yeah.
Still had some great story elements to it. Everything that came after that was like, oh, we're going to do more gore. Forget the story now. It's just all about the gore, which means they missed the point, which makes Saw, in my opinion, the masterpiece of that genre in that style.
Yeah, I'm not into that stuff, so don't watch that.
I'm not into
gore stuff.
gore either. Like if it's just gore for the sake of gore, I'm not really
Yeah.
into it. But the story was there.
So speaking of not being into gore for the sake of gore, I'm the same way. I haven't really. Can you guys hear me? By the way.
Yeah. You
Okay, good.
sound good.
Yeah, I'm not into the gory movies, but there's one of my favorite movies of all time is one of the most goriest movies of all time, The Thing. And that,
Oh yes.
that I would call a masterpiece. Again,
Yeah.
you know,
Agreed.
in addition to the story, the acting, the editing, all that, like from strictly a technical standpoint, I think Rob Bottin is a genius. And a lot of what he did the RoboCop makeup, the suit, he did all the effects in The Thing. And that's a movie that, despite my aversion to the gore and squeamishness and stuff, like I agree with Gaz. He said earlier, like it's in the eye of the beholder. You know, one person's masterpiece is another person's disaster piece. But when it comes to The Thing, that movie it's about the immersion, and it's fun. It's definitely fun to discuss and try to quantify. But I think at the end of the day, you can't quantify a masterpiece any more than you can quantify God. That's, those are spirited debates. If you watch a guy named Cliff Nechtel, he has a lot of spirited debates trying to quantify God, but you can't really quantify a masterpiece. For me, it's an immersive, atmospheric thing. Movies I call masterpiece myself are movies that weren't just entertaining, like a one and done, but are, like Gaz said, blows me away the 40th time I watch it. So the thing, I've probably watched it 40 times in my life, and every time I watch it, I'm on the edge of my seat, biting my nails. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
When
I
you
don't
see
do that
Creature
with.
for the first time, you're like,
Yeah. I don't do that with Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, okay, so Freddy's dismembering
I think-
people with the claws.
I think like
Right.
on Nightmare on Elm Street, I think the first one is really, really good because you don't know what
Oh,
to
yeah, it's
expect in
great.
the movie, and you see that. And
Mm.
maybe a couple of the sequels, but not all of them are
I would-
decent at it. But I think out of all the slasher flicks, because I would factor that in with slasher movies, right?
Yeah.
Like Jason and all that stuff. I think that's probably the cream of the crop of the slasher stuff. Really,
This
that's
is
I
that
Something
agree.
that makes you
I
feel
agree.
something and feel repeatedly like that. And when I went to film school, that was what we had a European film instructor, and he taught us a lot of like European film stuff we had never heard of, never seen. It was never on TV here. But he was one of his favorite phrases was kicks and pants. Okay, you want kicks and pants? Go to the theater and watch your kicks and pants. Okay, so he called Terminator kicks and pants, which I would call a masterpiece. He called Aliens
Yeah.
kicks and pants. He wanted something that made you feel something, and not necessarily good, not necessarily
Right.
bad, but the true masters of film were the guys who made you. It was a slice of life. It was like experiencing a slice of someone else's life without leaving your couch. That's genius. That's masterclass, masterpiece type of stuff. Now, things have changed over the years. Deadpool and Wolverine, from a certain point of view, yeah, I'd call that kind of a masterpiece. From certain, the melding of the pop music with the action is brilliant in that movie. That's masterpiece-ish. The way they do that, the finale is a masterpiece. Absolutely, as kicks and pants as the whole movie is, that end scene of Deadpool and Wolverine is like, how'd they do that? The whole movie is bathos, and the end of the movie, boom, right there. Like, I'm verklempt. So it makes you feel something.
I do.
Well, speaking
feel-
of the thing, before we go off the topic of the thing, just real quick. Sorry, I just want to. It would be remiss to not mention the fact that people are still talking about that movie's ending today. Like people still debate that movie
Yeah,
and its ending. Which if you can be entertained throughout a whole movie and then go and talk about it for decades afterwards because it's such a strong ending, but that's got to put it automatically in a masterpiece for me.
yeah.
And it's fun to talk to the actors because I don't know if Kurt Russell is really into the discussion when he makes appearances. I don't think he does many appearances, but I know Keith David likes to talk about that, and he's got his own theory that Childs was or wasn't the thing. I don't remember, but all the little things they put in that movie, like he can't be the thing because he's missing his metal tooth. But he does have the metal tooth. But then the prequel movie explains something about metal teeth, and it makes you think a lot.
Yeah.
It's more than just the feeling. I think, as I said, there's something that the human condition recognizes. I really don't think it's subjective, and I wish I had the training to point out why. Because I feel also, so Terminator, for example, Terminator 1 is as your film instructor said, kicks and pants. But Terminator 2 was something special.
Well, Terminator 1, I would call a masterpiece just because of what he had working against him. He had no budget, no experience, no permits in some cases, no stars. Right. Arnold wasn't Arnold. Michael Biehn wasn't a proven commodity. Nobody on that movie was a proven commodity. That movie was the star-making movie. People just take it for granted. Like Michael Biehn, bow down. Linda Hamilton, bow. They were nobodies before that movie.
I still think that that Terminator is the best one out of all of them. If you take all the Terminator films, that's a great horror film. I mean,
it's a love story.
And a love story. It's great. I love it.
So many
So-
genres. Yeah.
So JoeFan84 just brought up Blade Runner.
Oh,
Yep.
all right.
Right.
Okay.
It's
So-
which cut? which
So
which
I
version?
assume he's gonna. I assume because he didn't put the number at the end, it's the first one. So JoeFan
Well,
said
but there's
that
like 5 versions of it though.
right, that's
There's
yeah. So
director's
I
cut,
could tell you,
definitive cut.
I could honestly tell you that I have not like I've not watched that movie entirely like straight once. I've
So-
fallen asleep and I have to like restart it. It's like
Yeah.
I mean I know that it's masterful, right? It's got so much in it. It's a good storyline.
It's
the
technically
actors-
good.
It's technically good,
Right.
but it's like it just loses my attention when I watch it.
so
Gaz-
JoeFan, right?
Gaz,
He
I
didn't-
just Gaz,
sorry.
did you see Blade Runner 2049?
I've not seen the new one, no.
Okay, here's the winning formula. Here's the secret. I was in the same boat. I had watched Blade Runner, but I just didn't get it. I was like, okay, people love it. I want to love it. And I watched it 10 times, a bunch of different versions, trying to love Blade Runner, and I just never loved it. Blade Runner 2049 came out. I popped in whatever the last cut is. Maybe the chat can help out. I think it was called the definitive cut because there's been a director's cut, a this cut, a that cut, a Fernham Snavett's cut, whatever the latest one is, the definitive cut.
Yeah.
I watched that. I felt the same way. I was like, ho hum. Watched Blade Runner 2049, and when I was done Blade Runner 2049, I went, oh wow, I've been watching half a movie my whole life.
All right.
It's
I'll
not
have
two
to give it a
movies.
watch.
It's not two movies. Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 are one movie. And
Okay.
that's the problem. It's not a full movie. Blade Runner 2049 finishes the darn movie. And now I refuse
Right.
to watch them individually. They are one big movie.
So it's kind of like when you watch Lord of the Rings, you can't
Yeah.
just watch the first one. You have to watch
Right.
all
I
of
was
them.
going to
Yeah.
say that. I was going to say that. If you just watched Fellowship of the Ring your whole life, it's like, oh, okay. And then you watch Two Towers and Return of the King, you go, oh. So that's what
Mm.
2049
You know what I
does.
think it is really inside? It's that I know that because of what this is one of the reasons that movie Blade Runner was one of the reasons why Megaforce bombed out of the theater. It came out
Well,
after.
Blade Runner bombed
Put
too,
out.
though. Blade
Yeah,
Runner-
but I mean, it made more money. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Megaforce was like 75th or 74th on the list.
Yeah. Sorry, Hans, I cut you off.
No. I just the only reason I'm bringing it up is because so Cutthroat brought up Blade Runner, but then Joe Fan said he liked Blade Runner, but earlier in the chat he said he didn't like Inception, right? But Inception is less confusing to me than Blade Runner, which means that on
Right.
one level or another, there's a recognition of an excellence, which means that inside of us we do recognize these things despite our lack of experience. And I think this is like hyper objective, but we miss it. You know, we love it, but we don't spend enough time on it. And I'm going to share another story with you. The Last Jedi, the second Disney Star Wars trilogy thing. Right. So the face that Gaz just made. I watched that movie.
Ruined.
I watched that movie 4 times, but there was a reason why. The first time I watched it, I hated it. Right? But
I've
it's
seen it
not
twice.
enough to hate something.
Oh,
I
great.
needed to understand why I hated it. So I started to watch it analytically. So the second and the third time I watched it and I started to make notes on it. And the fourth time I finally wrote an essay on why I didn't like it. So if anybody asks me why, I can say why. And I think just as someone can break down why they didn't like something, I think everybody can probably, if they sought to do so, write an essay on why they liked something as well, which means that there's a shared concept of that which makes a masterpiece in art and maybe even in life, but certainly in art. Anyway, let me move on to the next one.
Is that no? Hang on. Is that the Star Wars one though where they had the fuel issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have never done this in my life before while going to the cinema, but I had a real reaction to that movie where they were slowly chasing these whatever they call, not rebels, but whatever, right?
The resistance.
And I couldn't help myself in the movie theater. I cried out and said, "This isn't going to be the whole fucking movie, is it?"
Well, it's like
And I surprised myself because I don't ever do that.
Well, that's what I said when I was watching with my friend. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on video with my friends, and I hadn't seen anything of it. Only heard Nipson, but I hadn't followed it. And I said, since when was fuel an issue in Star Wars? They never had an issue
Right.
when they were the rebels. They were never talking about, well, we're not going to fuel to get there. They were in ships going through space the whole time.
Yeah.
The Rebel Alliance.
You think the
Yeah.
rebels
Never-
would be worse off for fuel?
Right,
You could have an
exactly.
aerosol can spray and spray it out the window and go, right?
Exactly.
Bro, that's what my big thing. And then
Worked for G.I.
spoilers for anybody in the chat who hasn't seen it yet. But if you could just turn a starship around, or I don't know what they call them in Star Wars, but I'm calling it starship. Turn it around, go light speed into the opposing ship and destroy it. Then why did he do that to the Death Star in the first one instead of
That's true.
attack it?
That's
Right?
true.
You're
I'm
starting
just-
to
I'm
get
just saying.
into a lot of the reasons that took me a while. You see what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
gut hatred.
That's not a-
You knew it
that's
was
not-
garbage. You know.
That's not a masterpiece. It'll never be a masterpiece because there's too many damn freaking plot holes in that movie. And he reset the storyline from the end of the first one. So all the characters were just reset back to their original form. So like the first one never happened. That's it. If you like the movie, I'm sorry, it's garbage.
Wait, are you sorry? Are you sorry that it's garbage, or are you sorry?
I'm
it's
sorry that it
garbage?
is
Both.
garbage and that I
Both.
can't enjoy it. Right? I want to enjoy it because it's Star Wars, but I can't because it's garbage. And
Here's
therefore,
a-
the third one is even more. It's just adding more to the pile, and it doesn't make sense.
Here's something
Yeah.
I don't know the point I'm trying to make here, but it popped into my head. It wasn't going light speed, but you remember in Return of the Jedi when that A-Wing pilot kamikazes into the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer. It's not
Yeah.
just a star, it's Vader's Super Star Destroyer, the Executor.
Nah.
And it nosedives into the Death Star. So it's not going light speed, but it nosedives and it explodes. And it didn't really do anything to the Death Star. So maybe the Death Star is so big and impenetrable that going
I'm
light
thinking
speed would
because-
just bounce off it.
I'm thinking it's not just it's going light speed. I mean, that was like the Titanic going down, right? And just smashing into it. So it wasn't moving at a massive force. Whereas that ship
It's the difference
had-
between shooting a bullet and throwing a bullet.
yeah, it's like that thing was just launching itself.
Chuck
at
Norris
its-
is throwing it.
Just imagine the ship was turned around and a giant Chuck Norris showed up and just shoulder kicked that thing into that other ship.
Chuck's just floating in space.
Star
Roundhouse.
Wars version of old, what's his name? The giant robot. What's his name? I want to say Ultron, but it's not Ultron. The hell's his name?
Unicron.
From Transport. Unicron. Chuck Norris is Unicron in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But he's still like human size.
It's still human.
yeah.
He's like, he just looked at it, gave him that Lone Wolf McQuaid look, and then roundhouse kicked it.
Oh, come on. He's got to be in the supercharger in space.
What's that sound? All right, sorry, Hans. Sorry, Hans.
No.
Sure,
I just once again. So we're going through.
Lone
so we have
Wolf
Naked-
McQuaid
Naked
better
Gun
be
is-
on this list, Hans.
Oh, I'm telling Chuck.
Naked Gun 30. Naked Gun is when we looked at it before, and then I brought up English Patient. Right. The reason why I brought up English Patient is because it won an Academy Award, Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Directing, Best Film Editing, Best Sound Making, the BAFTA Award, all in 1997. Best Costume Design, Best Music, Best Cinematography, Best Production. Film Producers of America's Guild gave it Best Theatrical. I'm not done yet. BAFTA gave it Best. Goes on and on. It's like 50 different awards, maybe more. So now here is the test. Let's start right below me. Mr. Mercy, have you seen this movie?
I think I tried, just
Cool.
because of all the hype, and you're supposed to be impressed with this, and I didn't care.
Right.
I didn't.
Gaz, did you see this movie?
No, I didn't.
Cool. Zazel, did you see this movie?
This is a mum movie. Mums love this movie.
So I watched it. I suffered through it. I crucified myself so y'all could not have to watch it. Okay. Listen,
Thank you, Hans.
is it? You're welcome. Is it a good movie? I guess. But what did I get? So Spoon Killer said it's very much quote unquote full of itself, right? But it won all these different things. And if you look in the top 10 of a lot of lists that are up on IMDb and whatever, it's usually in the top 10 as a masterpiece class and all these different things. But none of us in this list have seen it. I don't know if Spoon Killer's seen it, but fundamentally, it doesn't hit any of those masterpiece triggers within us. The same thing we just spoke about. What did we talk about right before this? Thing, for
Star
example.
Wars.
No. I don't want to talk about Star Wars. Not yet.
The
Story.
Thing.
It's
Yeah.
a coming. So we spoke about the
Okay.
Thing, and we felt it when we watched that. I would even say Predator, for example. We felt that masterpiece level when we watched it. We felt this gut instinct rise up in us. The English Patient was watched by many professionals and we were told that it was a fantastic movie. But nobody I know actually likes this. So who is this movie for? And how did it gain the masterpiece title? If
Money.
in a group of 4 people, is it really just money? Or is
I
it
think
because
so.
they're trying to remove the concept of masterpiece? I say they like a conspiracy theorist, lunatic. Like they're trying to remove the idea of masterpiece from us and make it something that you need to be educated to understand. If not, it becomes one of those, oh, well, you don't get it scenarios, you know?
You mean like the intellectual moviegoer
Yeah.
So the sophisticated
Right.
movie.
sophistication. They show up to the theater in their suit, in their tuxes.
For the
and-
discerning viewer.
That's the whole point of Rotten Tomatoes. You've got the critic reviews and the
Mm.
audience reviews, and there's a lot of times where the critics hate it, but the audience loves it.
Right.
So it's
William
the difference
Dafoe's in that?
between like it's the difference between entertainment and I don't know, they go for enlightenment or some kind of slice of life feeling, but it also depends on what point in history we're in, and if we're in a point of history where times are great, then yeah, maybe people are more open to something heavier, deeper. If we're in a point of history where we were locked up in our houses for a year and can't afford food and can't afford all of the things that we used to enjoy, don't really want to be depressed or watch people suffer. We'd rather see Deadpool and Wolverine kicking butt.
So it's kind of a clever lure that I've put here.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh,
Right.
Hans, I've got some stuff to say about The Godfather.
Right. So The Godfather won less awards than The English Patient.
How many awards did it win?
So The English Patient won 57.
Mm-hmm.
This only won 33.
33 awards?
33
Oh, wow.
versus 57.
Only 30.
But so let's start from the top again. Michael, have you seen The Godfather?
Never seen it.
You've never seen The Godfather.
You've never
No.
seen it?
No, always meant to, but never. I mean, I've seen other gangster movies that were heavily inspired by it,
Yeah.
and didn't really like them, like Goodfellas and other stuff like that. It's not for me, like the whole suit wearing mafiosos. Same with Sopranos. It just wasn't my thing.
It's not a gang. It's not a gang. It's an organization.
For me, this is like
It made me an offer I could refuse.
This is a film that it kind of like when you were talking about Blade Runner, is like I can't watch this one without watching part 2, and
Right.
sometimes 3. I don't mind 3, but I can't just sit down and say, I'm going to watch The Godfather tonight. This I got to be in the mood to watch, right? Because it's an investment. You're investing time to watch this,
Okay.
right? Because it's good. I would dare to say in Gazz's world, this is a masterpiece.
I mean, it's got Orson Welles, or not Orson.
Marlon
Brando.
Brando. Not his dad, but I mean Pacino, James Caan, Robert Duvall. There's a lot of actors and a lot of good actors in this film, and a very good storyline.
Marlon Brando's like a human special effect. I mean, it doesn't matter what he's in. I could be watching him in a movie I don't particularly like Apocalypse Now. I wasn't really feeling it. but every microsecond Brando is on screen, I'm like, what is he doing? What is he saying? What does he think? He's magnetic. He's like the definition of the magnetic actor. You cannot take your eyes off.
He's good. There actually, it's filled with great actors, to tell you the truth. Even Pacino's performance in this, James Caan's performance in this is freaking great.
Yeah.
So I see Zazel is in his thinking man pose. I kind of want to hear it.
I can watch The Untouchables. So I love The Untouchables. Now,
I love that one too.
That is a great film set in a similar genre to The Godfather. Obviously, different types of filmmaking and different types of film stories, but still that sort of gangster, mobster style of movie. But I just prefer that movie. What that says about me, I don't know. But The Godfather, it was on the list, like Citizen Kane, was on the list of movies that you should see, must-see movies, right? Possibly in the top 10 movies you must see of all time. And I had always wanted to see The Godfather over the years. I only just watched it for the first time. I think it was last year. Might have been earlier this year. So I finally sat down. It was on streaming. They have all three of them available to watch. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I've got the time. I've got nothing else to do. I'm going to invest in The Godfather. And I got to say, it had some great scenes in it. And what is a movie if not just scenes all strung together? But I did not enjoy The Godfather as a whole. I thought some scenes were touching. I thought some scenes were well filmed. I thought some of the way that the characters were represented were entertaining. Duvall always great. You know, but I thought that wow, this is largely overrated. And is it because I had sat on it for so long and didn't get to it until later and built up this hype? Maybe. But I had no interest after watching The Godfather to then go and watch The Godfather 2 or 3. And I think 3 is a prequel, is that right?
No,
2 is.
No,
2 is?
2 is a mix. It's a prequel and the continuation of the story.
It's got De Niro as a young...
yes.
De Niro
halfway through The Godfather. Sorry, Gaz, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is exactly. I was just saying what Mike said. He plays the younger version of Marlon Brando's character.
Gotcha. Halfway through
Ernie,
The Godfather,
right? His name's Ernie. Ernie Godfather.
Ernie Godfather. Yeah.
I thought that was it. I'm gonna shoot you, Bert. Halfway through the movie, it just sort of stalls. Yeah, and it becomes this whole different movie where it's now like long and drawn out, where he's now in Italy, and it's got this whole subplot of love and love lost. It's just like, where am I now? What is this? And I don't know. And Retro Tinker also says it's a slow burn. Yeah, it's a slow burn, but I don't mind a slow burn. Lord of the Rings could be considered a slow burn.
Oh yeah,
but it keeps you captivated throughout as you go, and I just lost interest.
Hey, Zaz, I want to ask you a question. Do you think it might? Because I think we're kind of wired similarly when it comes to our movies, especially since you said you prefer The Untouchables, and I totally forgot about that. I love The Untouchables. That's the Chicago way. Yeah, and I never thought about it, but yeah, that's kind of a mob movie. But give me The Untouchables and all the other stuff, Goodfellas and Godfather, I kind of pass on. Do you think, Zaz, maybe it's because like we prefer movies about heroes, and The Godfather, like these guys are technically villains, aren't they? They're the mafia.
That's not technically. These guys are villains.
Okay. Just it's hard to cheer because we're wired to cheer for the main characters, and I just don't want to cheer for a criminal.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, because Untouchables is like an action. It's got clear-cut hero, clear-cut villains. This is a family full of villains, and you're trying to justify what they're doing because they're doing it for the family. Right, yeah.
And at
it's
the
kind
end,
of like playing Grand Theft Auto, right? Like where you're stealing stuff in Grand Theft Auto and stuff. I like the first few games of those, but I just couldn't stick with it because like I kind of don't want to smash windows and murder innocent people, so...
Wait, what's the point of hijacking or like jacking a car and then following the rules of the road?
Right.
So,
like, can you be
right? And people do that.
that's me.
I gotta get to the next mission. I can't run this red light.
Gaz, do you play Mad Max and drive like by proper rules. You know, stay in the
Of course,
correct
of
lane
course,
and
of course.
turn signal in Mad
Of
Max.
course. My
So-
turn signal doesn't work. I gotta take it to the garage.
So since Zazel has seen the movie most recently, even though the movie kind of bored you, did you get that feeling of masterpiece from it?
I could see visually why at the time this might have been considered a masterpiece of cinema. I think that there are some strong story elements in it from their perspective and their point of view, and where the family is going, and how to navigate the top spot being potentially taken down. And like for people who haven't seen The Godfather, right, it's like and spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but the main guy, what's the main guy called again? Marlon Brando's character,
Bert. Oh, Ernie.
Bert.
Ernie Godfather.
Ernie Godfather. Ernie Godfather gets shot, right? Ernie Godfather gets shot, and it's pretty brutal. And then you think, oh, he's going to die, so therefore this guy's going to stand. You know, it's all a big revenge thing, and this guy's going to have to stand up and be the new head of the family. And then he doesn't die, but then he does die. It's like just if he's going to die, just kill him.
I think what it does is, I mean, if you take the whole, they're criminals, the family full of criminals, and the one son that doesn't want to be a criminal, joins the military, goes off to war against his father's, against what everybody wants him to do. He does anyway, then comes back, and then ends up, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it,
He ends up 30 years.
He ends up becoming part of the family, right? And
I think that final scene where the door closes, I think
Yeah.
that's pretty well done. That's a great cinematic shot.
For me, what I like about it, it's not that they're criminals. It's just the human drama of this family.
That's
family where the one brother is the successor, right? He is the successor. He's the future of the family. Then the other brother is the failure, and then the younger brother is the one that's not going to be part of it. The father doesn't want to be part of anything, right? But then gets drawn into it anyway. I think it's just a human drama of this family, and you watch their turmoil and everything that happens to them as along the way, and then you just throw in the mob stuff in there, and it's not as like action packed, violent as like The Untouchables is, but it does have those scenes of violence in it that are like of the time, and I think that you fit this in, and then you fit it into the time frame that it's in. I think that's why it's good, because it all fits in that whole like real life kind of story. Like this could have happened, and that's why I like it so much. Is like, you know, it's not real, but it could be real, and it's just very dramatic. It's like Dallas meets the mob. It's great. I think it's great.
I wasn't a big fan of Dallas either. But Hans, to answer your question, I could see that it was cinematography great, acting great. I don't think that there was any bad actors in it, except for that one guy who was technically like not an actor and a real mobster. I think is the rumor.
What's his name? Luca Brazza or something like that?
Luca Brazzi?
Maybe.
Luca Brazza, is that his name?
I think so.
Right.
Good, the bad, and the ugly in the chat there. That is a big, fat masterpiece right there. It's incredible.
It's my favorite out of the spaghetti westerns.
It's incredible.
No, I love Once Upon a Time in the West. Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I have first of all, I'm really I always view cinema, especially in North America, as the modern day mythologies, and the fact that we can all sit here and kind of debate that which is and which is not a masterpiece and what affected us and what isn't, it really kind of warms my heart, kind of thing. So thanks for that. The other thing is, you see how even though you find the movie boring, you can see things in it that would mark it as amazing, and certain scenes you can see the actors kind of pulling off things, and it's things that line up that speak to you. But I'm on my last two movies.
The talent
behind it.
Yeah, you're not blind to the talent.
You just opened something up in my brain. The humanity, the human element.
I'll give you a movie that's got human element. It didn't win as many Oscars as these guys did. 33, 54.
No, those aren't Oscars. Those are awards.
Awards. I'll give you one movie, and it's a recent movie too. And the human element is just crazy. The story's good. and it's I think is a modern masterpiece. And you guys can disagree with me if you want, but I'm gonna say this film right here
Oh, minus
Oh,
one.
is a
it
is.
modern. I think that is a modern masterpiece. When I walked out of that, I was like, yeah.
So
What you-
in that case, it would be because they took something you're familiar with, source material, and they paid it a lot of reverence, right?
Well, I mean,
Like they did it right. They were true to the source material.
yeah, it wasn't like
It was
there
more
was a human drama going on, and you just threw in Godzilla to the mix to add more drama to it.
That was not a
Godzilla will definitely add more drama in any situation.
I mean, we're talking.
You know,
We're talking about.
you just
if anybody-
gave me an idea. We could have like a couple that's having like marital problems and Godzilla. Just makes it worse.
That wasn't.
They're in
that movie was
counseling Godzilla.
That was not a good Godzilla movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It
saying.
moved past Godzilla into a different place. Anyway, last because I have 6 more images and I kind of want to get through them before we all
Right.
turn
okay.
muscles.
Let's go.
Fair enough. There it
I've
is.
heard of it.
So Star Wars.
Is that movie? All right.
So
Shatner,
I think we've all seen
Yeah.
it.
Shatner.
I
May the
think
Schwartz be with you.
Yeah.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Where's
I
the
think-
Eagle 5?
So we've all seen it. We've all seen it. I'm gonna say at least 100 times a piece.
Hmm.
You know,
Today.
we all recognize
Today, yeah.
Today, right? Exactly. We all recognize that it is a good movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know it's not a masterpiece. I know that in my heart of hearts, it's not a masterpiece.
I
The
agree with you.
technical stuff we were talking about, it was groundbreaking for what it was at the time. You look at the special effects they had to create for this movie. What do
Be
you mean it's
careful.
not a masterpiece?
Be careful.
Uh-oh. Tread lightly.
I think it's a masterpiece, and in addition to that, I think it's beautiful. Because aside from all of the, I think Uncle George lost his way, where he started out sending the message of it's not about all the ships and guns, it's about the Force. You can't define it, you can't draw it, you can't put it in a package and sell it, even though I'm sure he wanted to. This movie, despite all the amazing special effects and interesting characters and amazing music and editing and all that, it's beautiful. It's a fairy tale.
Yes.
It's a feel-good fairy tale. It was, it talking about movies that are perfect for their time. This came out around, the aftermath of the Vietnam War. There were a lot of upset, angry people.
For real, yeah.
And this movie, it's called A New Hope, and I think it brought a new hope. It let people have fun again. And so that's why I call it beautiful. That in addition to all the fun stuff and the kicks and pants and stuff, it's got so much spirit and soul. And Empire Strikes Back, the second one, definitely has that with Yoda. But even just the first one, it's just low stakes fun. It just let people have fun again. After a time when, if you can, most of us didn't grow up in that period, but we've read about it. The Vietnam War, they had a president assassinated not too long before this, and a very popular president. Like he was beloved by a lot of people. Bullet in the head, assassinated on live TV right beside his wife. It was a heartbreaking time. So this was a very important movie for its time.
Agreed.
That's really
I agree.
profound. That's profound. Gaz?
I agree with most of what Mike just said. I don't consider it a masterpiece, but I do consider it a groundbreaking film. The special effects were incredible. The story was good. The characters were, even more incredible. But maybe it's because I've seen it too many times. I don't know. I don't get the same feeling that I used to get when I watch it. But it's still one of my all-time favorite films. But I don't know if I would say masterpiece. I would say damn well close to a masterpiece.
Would you call the second one a masterpiece?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
The
this is a
second
good
one.
setup to a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a good setup to the masterpiece. I think
Let me tell you
why.
why.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Go
guys,
ahead.
you go. No, you go.
I was gonna say
I'm interrupting you,
for
man.
me. There's
Go ahead, Gaz.
a few.
Gaz,
There's a
he's letting
few
you go. Go ahead. Sorry.
there's a few slow bits in this film that I kind of zone out when I watch it. But other than that, I mean,
All right, let me tell you why this is a masterpiece. Not only does it hold up today, which is part of what keeps a movie a masterpiece, is that it does still hold up. Even if you're watching the original one and not any of the redos. I'll tell you why. Not only is it a great standalone movie, if we never got Empire Strikes Back, which in itself is a masterpiece, if we never got Empire Strikes Back, this movie is a great self-contained story. It has a great arc that has a conclusion. Right? It is a great sci-fi masterpiece. The characters, all of them, so well written. You can't name one bad character, and I defy you if you do. The space opera themes, the callback to the original sci-fi of old, while still being touching on modern elements, not losing any of the fantasy stuff that we did love. The love story, which gets a little awkward later. The love story, the action, the adventure, the lingering history of it all. Like, what were the Clone Wars? Who was Darth Vader? What's under the helmet? All of these things that later get answered, and in some ways we get a lesser part of it because of it. The mystery of the Force, the spaceships, the explosions, the lightsabers, the swinging across like Tarzan or Robin Hood or something. It touches on so many things, but it still feels fresh and original. And I could struggle to find anything that's come out after Star Wars that improves upon Star Wars. I'm done.
So I will say this, just to yeah, I know, right? I'm watching this. My children are watching this for the first time. They saw this A New Hope for the first time this weekend, gone on Saturday, and they had the same expression that I probably had when I watched it, even though this movie is ancient. But I still wouldn't call it a masterpiece because of that movie.
Yeah.
Now, this built on everything of the prior and did things that no other movie had done before. I think this is the first movie that ended so cliffhangery, where the bad guys kind of won.
Yeah.
The dialogue, the story, the everything. So if we take these two movies in a vacuum, are they both masterpieces, or is this one a masterpiece? And the fact that we can have this debate at all means that within, as I said, there's a quantifiable element here, and there's an objectivity, not just a subjectivity, which is the heart of this whole conversation that I'm trying to kind of push forward, not only with the chat, but you four gentlemen as well, is that there is a quantifiable element that goes beyond the concept of being educated in cinematography, and that humanity in and unto itself can smell quality. Because my children don't know anything about cinematography, but they know when they saw A New Hope, this was something that they loved. All of a sudden, it was something special, but they had no words for it. But we have words for it, but even then our ability to express it is limited, because our exploration of the concept of that which quantifies the masterpiece title has been so limited, because I suppose we prefer to just experience and bathe in the light rather than, I suppose, attempt to understand it.
well, I mean, for me, the reason why, again, A New Hope isn't a masterpiece is because of this movie, and not just because of this movie, because of Return of the Jedi. I think altogether, because I can't watch them one just once. I can't watch A New Hope without watching Empire, and I can't watch Empire without watching Jedi. Right? I need to watch all three of them. So together, that's a masterpiece. But A New Hope isn't because it builds up to this one. This one is the masterpiece to me. out of all three of them, this is the best. This is the one that tops it all for me. I mean, Jedi is really good as well, but together they are, but alone, the first one isn't. No.
This one always makes the top 10 and top 15s. Jedi doesn't, which is the only reason this one's here, because I actually prefer Jedi. But I do recognize this one as the most unique of the three, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I think that there is, when you look at the creatures from A New Hope and look at the creatures that you get in Return of the Jedi, this is a very a creature light space fair. Like, there is a lot more humans in Empire Strikes Back than there are in the other two. And you get a pretty cool snowbird. And I love Empire Strikes Back, don't get me wrong. It is a masterpiece of a movie. I will agree with you there. But it has some shock value in there. It does introduce some great characters like Boba Fett, Lando, and Yoda. But also shows like the Wampa scene. I loved that scene. That was.
You love me some Sasquatch.
Now there's white Sasquatch, snow Sasquatch.
Love us some white sass.
I thought
Some
they
sassy
smelled bad on
Sasquatch.
the outside.
Yeah, right. Some great quotable lines. But I think another thing, and I feel the same way about the new trilogy, and I feel the same way almost about it with the Lord of the Rings, where I feel like the main core group are away from each other for so long that it feels like I miss that element of them all being together, which is what I like about A New Hope. And you get it a little bit in Jedi, but this is not a masterpiece. I wouldn't say that this knocks A New Hope off of that title either. I think they can both exist up there.
Yeah, how
if
about-
anything, this one...
How about instead of dropping one from the masterpiece, so that this one, we come up with a new term, and New Hope can be a masterpiece, and this could be a master blaster piece.
Perfect, yes.
Kind of like, and Zazel will know, especially what I'm talking about here with the Mad Max movies. Road Warrior, I called it a masterpiece. I watched Fury Road, and I went, huh. I don't want to bump down Road Warrior. That's not fair. So Road Warrior remains a masterpiece, but Fury Road is a master blaster piece.
Master Blaster.
I'm on board. I'm on board with that. Perfect.
Who run Cloud City? Master Blaster.
Oh, that's great.
So
Auntie Lando.
Lando's Tina Turner.
So I mean,
Can we recast the movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
there are three more things I wanted to kind of bring up as well, if you don't mind. And then
Please.
we can kinda call it quits. I know it's getting late.
Oh no, don't worry about it.
But I just wanted to. So I want everybody to kind of if there's something I could leave everybody with, is not only like an interesting discussion, but also like food for thought. Because
like
we
food.
are food for thought. Because
like
we're
that.
we're living in a time where often, because we're so overexposed to so many things, we are probably seeing masterpieces go by us all the time. We're experiencing things, but because we're so like desensitized to it, we kind of lose that kind of quality. The way we have to be told the things that are good,
Or
right?
watching it on our phone.
or watching it on this.
What
night,
if you watch a masterpiece on your phone? Do you feel it?
right? You know,
Do you know? Did you see it really?
Yeah.
So,
I
Such
don't
a
look at
good
it.
point.
I don't look at it that way. Like, are we missing masterpieces? I think the beauty of a masterpiece is just discovering it on your own. I like when somebody suggests to me to go watch a movie, right? Especially if it doesn't interest me, I'm like, okay, I'll go watch it, but I won't watch it because I know it's not going to interest me. And then like a year or two later, I'll watch it and be like, God damn, Mike was right. I should have watched that back then. Right?
Well, it's
What's
planting
wrong?
a seed. You plant a seed, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
not only the the finding of it itself, but also not being told that it is. So a lot of us are waiting for someone to say that is worth watching or something, and we wait for the review, and we're kind of denied the opportunity to kind of discover for ourselves whether it was or was not something fantastic.
Right.
And I kind of want to just end on this note, because this is actually my speciality, which is the images I just sent to Zazel to bring up. I don't know if it's working.
I see it.
Right. So everybody knows
Sorry,
this piece.
I was captivated by your tremendous looks that I failed to see the piece of art.
That was a masterpiece. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. You know, it's a fantastic work of art. Some say it's one of his best. It's one of the few that survive. There are cracks all in it. It's beautifully rendered.
It's like Marlon Brando. You can just stare at it and go, "What's going on here?"
Well, there's always something new. I mean, there are bridges and backgrounds and all sorts of paths and stuff, as well as the.
I have never noticed that.
I've never noticed that either.
Really? Oh,
no,
that has blown my mind.
I was looking at the road, never realized there was a road behind there, and then you point out the bridge.
So
wow,
that has legitimately blown my mind.
So even like the softness of the hands, as well as the complexity of the sleeve and such, right? Those are mathematical. Leonardo da Vinci, as well as Michelangelo, as well as another artist, Rembrandt, really kind of pioneered that concept. So what you're looking at is you're looking at an amazing artist's work. You're looking at the definition of masterpiece, right? Everyone who came after him built on these concepts. So this leads me to the next picture.
Jim Lee.
Well,
is it Jim Lee?
So you knew it immediately. It's Jim Lee's Batman. I have this book, right? So zoom in. That's about as close as I dare to get before we get any kind of pixel degradation. Look at the usage of line. Look at the usage of light and dark. This is drawn in black and white on gray paper. And you can see on many levels how much he has built on what Leonardo has done before. Yeah. But this cover is not hanging in a museum. It's almost disposable. You can buy many copies of this for $50. You can go into your local comic store and find this very easily reproduced. It doesn't have that value, even though I can tell you from a technical standpoint, this is also very much a masterpiece. And for those who aren't fans of Jim Lee, there's one other artist I wanted to look at, and that's this gentleman right here.
Yes.
This is Frank Frazetta, the fantasy master, some could argue.
Yeah.
Down to the subtle usages of not only color, but shape and design, the skulls both in the background. But a lot of people don't see these things simply because they're looking past it quickly to get to the story within. It's disposable. They read it, they get the story, and they move out. Each of us have seen this image as well as the Batman image from before. But neither of any of us, and perhaps many people who have gone before, and some of the people in the chat, would register this as indeed a masterpiece. Which leads back to the point I was trying to make right before I brought these images up. We're experiencing masterpieces every single day, not only of art, but also of music and literature and indeed life. So if we can kind of all leave this a little bit with this concept that everybody, despite lacking the experience and ability to determine whether something is excellent, the credentials to identify whether something is excellent, within us, there is an objective concept of that which is excellent, which is just another thing that we all have that's similar to one another rather than different. And we really don't need other people to kind of tell us whether something is good or not. So have a little less faith in the critic and a little more faith in what we actually register and know to be good, simply because it is good. And that's kind of what I wanted tonight to be about, to just understand that life is a masterpiece. And a lot of the things we get are indeed masterpieces. And we should be a little more happy about those things every single day.
Well said. Well said.
Excellently eloquated.
You've put a great show together, Hans. You brought slides, which we appreciate because we go by technology. But and I know you. I know that you're a humble person. But I'm going to plug you. Wait, I need to rephrase that. Your Instagram, your link, the link to Hans Chow's Instagram is in the description. And Hans is an incredible artist, an incredible writer. He's creating a comic book, which I cannot wait to see. I've been able to enjoy Hans's work in person. He's gifted me a piece of art, the one that you did of Sarge and Kelly for Joe Fest last year. I thought was a beautiful piece. But on top of that, your style, it's so uniquely Hans that it is it's a signature style and look that I have not seen from anybody else. I'm a true fan, not just a friend, but a fan of your stuff. So do yourselves a favor. Oh, I've got a thing. Hang on. Sometimes I almost forget that I've got this one. Go check out Hans on Instagram.
Check it out one time, won't you?
And I know once you check it out once, you'll continue to check it out. Give him a follow because it's great stuff. It's great stuff.
Thank you
There
very
you go.
much.
You got another fan.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're just a genuinely nice guy, Hans. We love you.
I try.
Hans will be in a museum one day.
Oh,
He
God,
belongs in a museum.
You want to talk about masterpieces?
Right there. Any word on the comic, Hans? I know that you were going to put together some audio stuff too. So
Yes, I am not only doing the book, but I'm also opening up. I'm actually reading the book and doing a dramatization of it. So I haven't figured out how I'm going to release that as yet. But I'm also doing audio books of public domain classics like Conan, Red Sonja, Sherlock Holmes, some of H.P. Lovecraft's works and stuff. And I'm trying to figure out where to put it. But I've finished about 3 of them so far. And so I sit down there and I do the voices and sort of thing.
Hans
So,
reading
yes.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I am. I'm reading Sherlock Holmes it's like, good gracious, Holmes. What do you mean? It's like, it's quite elementary, dear Watson. And you do the voice. And,
love it.
hopefully,
Where can we find this stuff? Where
I
can we
don't know where to
absorb
put
this
it
stuff?
is yet. I haven't
Are you gonna
figured out-
upload
Get a
it to, like,
Patreon started.
Are you gonna load it up to YouTube? Because there's a lot of those on YouTube. There's a lot of book readings on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm scared to get on YouTube. I have people telling me that like YouTube is a scary place, so I'm a little scared because like I don't take criticism while I cry and go in corners.
Well, it's filled with Simon Cowells who will
Very
ignore hundreds of hours of hard work just because they want to be Simon Cowell. Gotcha. I found one thing. Audible.com. I know some voice actors do audiobooks for audible.com too, so that might be an
Ooh,
option
yeah.
as well.
So,
And they're high class right there. So
How are you,
that's
Sometime
what
Toys?
that's what I'm really hoping for. By the grace of God, I've kind of reached everywhere with a little with just you pray about it and you just kind of end up there.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that the same thing will happen eventually, and that Audible is not something I thought of at all. So there you go. You may have given me a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
soon, I'm definitely gonna put it up on Instagram. Oh, I just put this up on this. Go and listen to it there. And
I'm up for Hans Chow reading some H.G. Wells. That'd be great.
How
If-
great
once
would
it's-
that be?
once it's
Yes.
public domain, I would love to do War of the Worlds. I would love.
Isn't it public,
Yes.
isn't it public domain?
when
it
does
was,
it
isn't it?
become?
Huh?
When does it
does it
become
become?
public domain?
It's public domain right now. War of the
Oh,
Worlds it's been public domain for like the last 20, 30 years.
You should get the script for the movie and read that one as well.
That would get
As
me in
an
trouble.
as an add-on.
That might, yeah.
That
No,
would
not
definitely
the
get me in
Tom
trouble.
Cruise one. I'm talking about the original one.
That would also get me in trouble. That's owned by Paramount or
Is it?
whoever.
Is it?
brought it
All
up.
right, just the book then.
I'd have to do.
How are you,
completely-
JLS?
Also, it's a lot. Well, that's of course also not public domain as yet. I don't even think I'd ever will be public domain because
Well, it has to eventually, right? What about The Hobbit?
No, but
Money,
I think
money can stop anything from becoming
I think-
public domain.
I think Buck Rogers is technically on public domain in 2026. I think,
Superman
'cause-
Superman was supposed to have gone public domain in 2014 or 15, and DC, of course, locked
Where
it
they
down
tweet-
again.
Yeah.
So they're gonna keep, the things that people want. They're gonna keep pouring money into it, like Steamboat.
Gonna lock
and
it down,
lots
yeah.
of-
Yeah.
So as I said, I don't mind sticking to the classics because I was raised on the classics: David Copperfield, Tale of Two Cities,
Yeah.
that sort of business. And I think a lot of people are missing out on those masterpieces. So if I can read them to people and keep those alive, I'd love to do
You
that.
could do like Dracula and stuff, right? To
Oh
the-
yeah,
Oh,
all
yeah.
those are
book
public.
public domain, right?
Frankenstein, all those things, or Frankenstein, depending on how you. All of them.
That'd be a great way to fall asleep at night. Just like, okay, I'm gonna put on some Hans.
Hans Chow
and
reading,
then,
Hans Chow reading Frankenstein.
yeah, and then there'll be like a sudden kick through the door. Like, oh, what happened? You can set your alarm to Hans
You're not
Chow.
sleeping. I'm actually here. Lie down. It's bedtime.
I love it. I love it.
You could do
Never
that.
read it.
Right?
Turn their eye.
You read that in
I read that in high school. That one sticks with you. That's the one that they always find in the assassin's back pocket, right?
They made us do that. They made us read Catcher in the Rye, and then the English teacher. I think when I was a senior, either junior or senior in high school, they made us act out the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh,
And
Oh,
he was rolling-
wow.
Everybody in the class had a role, and they had to read it out. Yeah,
Wow.
that was fun.
Huh. Yikes.
That literature is one of those things that a lot of the students I have in school, they don't like to read. So we did a book called The Snake Stone for them, and I read the whole Snake Stone dramatized for them, and they said, well, how come you don't do this for all of them? It's like, because it's my voice. When you read, you should hear your voice and your tones, and you can make your own story. They're just words. You're the one who applies the feeling and that sort of thing to it. And it's like, I was one of those guys that studied literature, and like literature kind of became my life. And I kind of realized there was an artistry to even the way that we speak and the way the things that we can do. And I love it, man. I love it.
Don't leave us hanging. What? I can't see the rest of it. Hold on. I gotta exit full screen.
Who'd you play in your
I don't remember. I think I was one of the orderlies.
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
Right.
wasn't Jack.
everyone wants to be.
I want to be Danny DeVito.
You know, outside of movies, I'll venture to say that one of the, I think one of a true masterpiece outside of that, literature-wise as well, and it's kind of comic-wise. I would venture to say that Calvin and Hobbes
Oh,
is
yes.
a true masterpiece. The whole thing. And if nobody's ever read any of the comic strips or gone thumbed through some of the books, it's a fun read.
There's
Fun
deep little
visual.
messages in there.
Very deep little messages in there.
It's
Sort
like
of
the Far
it's-
Side, double meaning.
It's mixed with some epic comedy too. Like some of the strips are just flat out just fun. Some of them are flat out funny. Some are thinkers, and some are emotionally really draw you in. And I get all of my. If you're lucky enough to be friends with Gaz on Facebook, that's where I get my daily Calvin and Hobbes. It's through Gaz. It's like, oh, Gaz is back. What's he got? What am I reading this morning? And sometimes they're thinkers, sometimes they're feelers, and I feel like some of them, Gaz, you upload depending on your mood.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah,
But
that's true.
I love that. It's an insight into Gaz's brain. But I agree, that it is a masterpiece of a comic, more so than Garfield. Garfield was a great read when I was a kid too, and Peanuts was a great read. But that you get a lot more Spaceman Spiff. Yeah.
Or Stupendous Man.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
Peanuts is good.
there's a as I said, the more media gets advanced, I mean, even AI art to a certain extent, the more technology kind of pushes forward and media gets more and more, I gotta go ahead and say privatized, the more we're going to become people who just consume and not people who create. And I think the importance to maintain the ability to create is that's I'm going to say at least 33% of humanity. That's at least 33% of your humanity. The other
Yeah.
60% is wisdom, compassion, virtue, and all those other things I could list off. But it's important to remember that, like, Cutthroat's doing his comics, I'm doing mine. You know, everybody does their podcasts, their reading, their, everything. Just create something. Don't just consume. Create.
That's so important, to create something, anything. One of the
Mm.
criticisms that I was hearing when I was making films and hanging out with other indie filmmakers, one of the best comebacks I ever heard, when someone who didn't do that and they watched the movie and went, oh, this sucked, that sucked, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. And the indie filmmaker comeback sometimes would be, I much prefer your indie movie. Or if they were criticizing a movie in the theater, I much prefer your summer blockbuster. Just do something. Because I've spoken to a couple of people who went and did their own little short film or music video or something, or even a YouTube video. And they say to me, wow, I had no idea. I thought this was something you just banged out in 15 minutes and hard work. Like, I thought it was, definitely hard work, but like 15 minutes, an hour, like, of hard work. And some of them go like, I had no idea. This is weeks. This is months. This is never ending. Like, how do you do that? And I go, that is why it's important to just do something, not even necessarily the equal thing. Like, in order to critique Hans's comic, you don't have to make your own comic, but just write a panel. Draw a panel, for God's sakes, just so that you have a whiff of what went into it. And so then that's where my phrase of 2 compliments for every criticism comes from. It's not because I'm thirsty for compliments. I don't need another compliment for the rest of my life. I'm full. I'm more than full and satisfied with the compliments I've had in my life. But I think it's a good, healthy balance in order to, and constructive criticism, I think, is born out of love. Like, love has to be present for it to actually be official, genuine, constructive criticism. That's another warning I have for people. If you get criticism and there's no love, if you don't sense the love of that criticism, it's not constructive criticism. It's actually destructive criticism. They're tearing you down because they want to climb up higher than you. That's not constructive criticism. That's destructive. They're trying to discourage you. They're trying to make you quit so that they go a little bit higher, which those people never end up anywhere in life. But when you do 2 compliments for every criticism, I love the colors you used. I love the designs you used. This guy's head is a little too big for my taste.
Yeah.
Right? That feels like love. Like, man, I really, really love it, and I want to love it more. It's just the head is too big. Like, that doesn't feel as bad as, actually, you missed this or that. That's not constructive criticism. That's not loving criticism.
Right.
That's just, hey, I win, you lose.
Yeah.
So what Hans said is so important. Just create something, do something, make something, so that you lose that reflex, that Simon Cowell reflex of type of thing.
I think nowadays, I think everybody's become a critic. I mean, we all have our criticisms of what we watch and what we consume. It's just the way we decide to share it, right? I mean, there's things that I don't like as what you were saying when we first started about a cartoon show. I decided it wasn't for me as I'm watching it, but it's still a masterpiece. But the thing is, the difference between most people is, like, if I watch something and I don't like it and it's not for me, I stop watching it and I don't watch it anymore.
Right.
And if somebody asks me, if Hazel comes along and say, "Hey, did you watch this? Did you like? What do you think?" I didn't like it. And that's all I would really say about it, unless you pressure me to say more. Why didn't you like it? Well, this is why I didn't like it. But usually I won't comment on it. Star Wars is a different thing because we all love it. It's compassion. It's constructive criticism, right?
Yeah.
But if I watch something I don't like it, I usually I don't want to I don't want to crap talk it because I didn't like it. I don't have an opinion to form on it
Right.
because it wasn't for me. I think the best
So I think-
comeback I've ever heard, best comeback I've ever heard about criticism came from Quentin Tarantino when somebody criticized his movie in front of him. And he just said, "You make it better then." That's all he said. You go make it better.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Even
I think
even take it and re-edit it. That's a great challenge. Take my movie and re-edit it. Go ahead.
I've seen some great re-edits. Yeah,
Put it through
Yeah.
a Final Cut Pro, and editing is tough. Like smoothing things out and getting the rhythm to. That's a great challenge. Make it better.
Mm-hmm. Make it better.
I think
Most
one of the
people
things that
don't have
hasn't
the time.
been one of the things that hasn't quite been touched on yet, which I think is one of the mind-blowing things of creating anything, is that it come from nothing. You're creating something from nothing. You pull it out of your brain, and whether you're writing it down or you're drawing it out or you're just presenting it in a form of a speech, that there's something magical there where you can create something from nothing. Quite like having children, Hans, you'll agree. The having a look at something, you're holding it in your hand. You're like, this came from nothing, and now it's a living, breathing creature. And I feel the same way when I see, and we'll talk on Hans because he's our guest. When I see another one of your pieces of art, and you see it go from sketch to final piece, I'm like, that came from absolutely nothing but what was in your brain, and you've presented it in your vision, and maybe your vision is different to what comes out on paper. I know that can be a challenge. When I'm making something like a play motion, I have it in my head like a movie how I think it's going to look, and then I make it. And I'm like, that's not quite right, but you got to that'll do. But I just think that there is a magic of creation that is intriguing, whether or not you enjoy it or not. It still came from somewhere that was out of thin air. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does completely. It absolutely does. I agree. JLS mentioned AI art before we get
Yeah.
off. I want to say this, right? So
Yeah.
AI art came
Phrasing.
out. What? Oh,
Phrasing. Yeah. Never mind.
AI art came out, and a lot of artists were freaking out over it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's doing this, nothing the other." I just want to say this: when I got upset too, I saw it and I was mad. But after I thought about it for about a week, I kind of realized that the people who are using it, if it allows them to kind of create something, even if it just gives us a shred of what I studied and or any artist has indeed done, and it brings them a little bit of happiness, I don't mind it as much anymore. I think it's cool that they can actually create something and feel what an ounce of it, as long as they continue to treat the original artists and those who studied and worked for it with reverence, and they're just creating and they're not trying to build an empire off of it. I'm all for it, actually, because I do think everybody should get the opportunity at least once in their life to understand what it's like to be an artist, even if it is just typing in prompts.
Well, I think that AI art.
That's a good point.
Okay, it's a creative outlet, is what it is. It's a tool that we could use to create something. Those that don't have artistic abilities, it can help them draw. It can help them write, right? As to the fear of it taking over the industry, I doubt that very much because if you go back, there's been plenty of times when the penciler, the artist, I'm gonna say comics, right? Those people were feared for their jobs. They were going to lose their jobs to something else. Not too long ago, a Cintiq, the drawing tablets that you can get, those are going to put pencilers out of business. Now you didn't need to use pencils or paper or anything like that. Traditional artists out of business that didn't want to do that. They were supposed to put them out of business, but yet they're still here. They're still drawing, and actually, they've most of them adapted and now are using that as well as traditional art. But then you find out with computer drawing on a computer that now you lose the physical art. You lose this. You lose this. You don't have this anymore, right?
Yep.
You don't have any paperwork. So all you have is digital art, right? And so people will still want that as well as the original. You want that piece of Jim Lee art hang on your wall. You don't want a printout of it. You want the physical one.
There's always
Right?
going to be a market for something that is
Exactly.
difficult and suffered for. And that's why in the
Yeah.
day and age of CGI and green screen stunts,
Mhm.
we notice a movie like Fall Guy and go,
Or
they're actually jumping out of cars and hitting the ground and getting bruised. Like there's always
Yeah.
going to be a market for suffering.
Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that
Does
too.
most of his jumps, right? That's
Real
crazy.
danger, real work, real sweat.
Yes,
And
The
that's
end
not
of the Olympics.
that's not to
that's what I'm talking about.
That was
man
great.
is insane. Yeah,
that's not to diminish digital artists. That's hard
No, it
too.
isn't.
I do digital art, and it's hard
It's
with
hard.
even with the mouse, right? Even with the mouse,
Not
but
easy.
with a pencil on paper would be for me a little bit harder. And so it's you know, you notice the extra work that's put into the hard way. Mylar is a great example. Toy photographer, 0 CGI, 100% practical effects. That takes a lot
so
of extra
good.
time.
I
He
know I've
could
tried.
take shortcuts. He could take shortcuts in Photoshop, but he doesn't. He has the clouds and the light and the smoke and the straws for the laser. He takes so much. His setup for his pictures takes so long, and that's why his stuff stands out, because 0 shortcuts, his choice to work harder, and he gets noticed more for all the extra work he does in front of the camera.
It's amazing stuff.
It
And
is
also,
great stuff.
interestingly, he's not secretive about. If you ask him, he'll tell you exactly how he did it. He's
Yeah.
not
Most-
selfish. He doesn't
most
keep his
people-
secrets to himself. He spreads
Mo-
it out.
Most people won't do it.
Most
No.
genuine, no, most
Most people
genuine
will not
artists
do
will.
it.
Most genuine artists will tell you, like how they do certain things. They just get tired of repeating themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, unfortunately.
But I'm glad he shows it, because it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that's I knew it was hard, but I didn't know it was that hard.
Yeah, right?
I mean, like even Zazel's slaughterhouse stuff. It's
Oh,
amazing when you watch
goodness.
it. It's amazing,
Yeah,
right?
Oh, thanks, buddy.
yeah. The
and,
amount
and
of
he takes the time. Like he doesn't want to show his hands in the screen. You know, even though he's still play motion, but he doesn't want to show his hands. And Hans, to the effect where he wears gloves to hide his
Yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah.
You know, but then you have Joburg, whose stuff is ultra amazing.
Yeah.
They don't
They don't care.
do
They're
it.
in the shot themselves.
And the best part is when you're watching it, you don't see them. You don't see the hands. You don't see them. You're just watching it. You know, and that's the amazing part of it. Is like when you're into it. So it doesn't really matter how good you are at something or how bad you think you are. If your passion's in it and you're working it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You put that time
Right
and
back at
energy
you,
into
Joe
it.
Fan. Oh, time and energy is something that I am lacking, but I feel once something is completed, I both love it and hate it at the same time. So I'm glad it's done. Never want to look at it again.
like giving birth to a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Oh no, not
Get out of
again.
here.
Not this
wanna-
again.
I don't want to see you again.
It's like the end of Spaceballs where he's like, "Oh no, not again,
Not again.
not again." That's some bad luck. Oh, that was fun. Oh, all right. Well, all the links are in the chat. I want to thank everyone for jumping on board. Hans Chow's Instagram link is in the description. Gazz's Instagram is in the description. I just added Mike's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't heard of Michael Mercy's channel, go check it out. It's a little channel, and we kind of like it.
I just started.
But
a
he
hobby.
hasn't been around for very long.
It's a hobby channel.
Go there
might-
and give him a compliment sandwich.
I might stick with it.
I love that
my
compliment.
favorite, a compliment hoagie.
I'll
Slap
take
some
that.
people's on
What's
that.
the compliment hoagie? Is it 2 compliments, 4 criticisms, 2 no?
Yeah.
I got that back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a mix of
many
compliment.
layers.
It's a messy mix. It's a messy mix. I do love a
compliment
good
pizza.
hoagie.
There you go.
That's even better. Easier to navigate. But again, thank you everybody for checking us out in the chat.
Thank you, Zazel.
Good turnout. We appreciate it. Do give it a thumbs up on your way out. and do check out the Instagram and YouTube links in the description for these fine folks too. If you've had any fun here, you guys are going to love it over in all of these other places. All right, and with that, good night. Thumb kiss. We'll see you on the next one.